Welcome to the podcast, From One Mother of an Addict to Another. This is a space of sharing heartfelt personal experiences, insightful thoughts, and powerful suggestions, which can hopefully assist and offer strength navigating your journey alongside a loved one facing addiction and mental illness.
Hi, welcome to the podcast episode, Turkeys Stuffed with Tears or Not. I remember the first time my son came home from college and he was coming to save the world. He explained to me in a matter of 5 hours, discussing it with my father, his brother, myself, that he is going to save the world. He needs to go shortly. And he has to discuss how he's going to do this. He went in for at least 2 to 3 hours discussing some physics theory and what he's been thinking about and how we have to put these theories together and how it's going to come about, and hours of this. Now, of course, my father looks at me at that point and says, "Oh my God, you got to get this kid help. Like, what is going on here?" I didn't even know what to do. Like, imagine, and I'm sure you've been in that position. Here you are, your kid's an addict. He goes to school. He acts like he's clean, but of course he's not. He promises you things are going to be different, but they're not. Comes home for Thanksgiving time, and it's a disaster. You see he has problems, or they have problems. You see it. You see it. You can't ignore it. But you're helpless. You are helpless. I was helpless. My hands were tied behind my back. I didn't know what to do. Here I am. I'm so excited he's home, and we're all together, and we're having fun, and we're just going to spend the next couple of days together. And here we go. This is what broke out. And that actually was the second psychotic event he has had. Now, at that point, I didn't understand psychotic events. I didn't understand any of it. I just figured he was on drugs at that particular moment, and that was what was happening to him. What I did realize is that if I looked at his patterns, he had a lot of, 2 months up and then whoop, fell right down, bottomed out, major depression, went back up again. His episodes were very short. He had, I'd say, 3 to 4 month episodes. As far as bipolar is concerned and those kind of things, I would say he definitely had his highs and lows, sabotaged himself completely. But in this situation, what I did is I approached him and said as follows: "You can leave now or you can get help." And he said, "Well, I'm going back up to school. I have a ride." Okay. The problem is that at that point in time, I let him take what he wanted. I let him go back to his dorm that I was paying for. And he took some food and he left. Now, I felt so vulnerable at that moment. I didn't even know who to turn to. Talking about ruining your holiday. Wow. And my father looks at me and said, "Oh my God, what are you going to do? Like, this kid's like out of his mind." Of course he's out of his mind. I understand that, but I didn't even understand the depth of it at that moment. I couldn't, and neither could you if this is new to you. It's just impossible to know. What do you do in that situation? So if they're not willing to get the help, which mine wasn't, I just had to let him go. And he went, because they're not interested, and you're not safe if they're in your home. You're just not. Because they're unpredictable at that point. They're paranoid, they're hallucinating, and I don't know. You're putting yourself and everybody else in your family in jeopardy. So at that point, let the tears roll during the turkey. But you can't allow yourself to give in and have a possibility of a real bad event occurring in your home because you just don't want to let them go. So at this point, when I let him go, I knew that I had to do something, and I didn't know what. So, of course, I then afterwards went to speak with a therapist, and the therapist explained to me how you need to get them help, but he's over 18, so you're not going to be able to sign him in, and it's best to get a location, a rehab where he's going to go and be prepared, and then try to convince him to go. So my son went back to school, but he never did go up to his dorm. He actually went back to his drug addict's couch. He sold most of his stuff, and now we're looking at December time, going into January. He's living on this couch. I told him I am clearing out his apartment as dorm, and I am not. I'm subletting it for the second semester. I went up there. I got rid of his stuff. I had to clear it out. I gave away things. It was just wow, all the money I spent setting him up, getting him so excited for this new venture in his life. And I guess it just more of a disappointment to me because at that point he didn't care. Living on a couch with a garbage bag doesn't, look to me like someone that cared or even had the opportunity or ability to care. So at this point, I've said in previous podcasts and spoken about it's very important to have the phone number of the rehab that you're going to use. Doesn't matter. Don't be so picky about which rehab. Just get a rehab that's local, as far as local, wherever you want it to be, close enough, far enough away, wherever it is at that point, it doesn't really matter. Just get the number so you have it on hand. Now, at that point, I had to get, the only way that I did this was I got some people from the rehab off duty to come meet me at where my son was up laying on that couch. And I had them come help me. And when he agreed to go with them, they took him. And I paid them for that. And that was it. Now, I don't know, that's not an interventionist. I did the intervention, okay? I went up there and I spoke to him and I gave him the ultimatums right then and there. There are a lot of people that are stubborn that won't ever admit or see that they have an issue. It's everybody else. That's actually so common in people with mental illness that struggle with any kind of mental illness. They can't see it. They didn't have that ability to see it in themselves. So they struggle with it all their lives because they're constantly saying, oh, I could go off the medication, I'm fine. Or I don't have a problem, you have a problem. They can't see it and they can't admit it. It's part of the illness. So basically, it's very hard for you to sit here as a parent, as a family member, and try to figure out how you're going to solve this. You can't solve it. You just can't solve it. You could try to get them in a safe place. That's all I wanted to do was get him in a safe place. And to me, getting him into rehab was a safe place. Because I knew he was doing drugs. And even though he was whacked out and he was going to save the world, whatever he was on, whatever psychotic event he was in, he was still doing drugs. So, you could get him into dual dependencies, codependencies, but you still focus on the drugs part, and then they take them in, and then they'll do the therapy with him, and they'll try to figure out to break down what mental illness seems to be there. Now, a lot of these rehabs aren't really prepared for this. I don't care, after all these years, they really, unless they have a separate entity, a separate part, a branch of their rehab that focuses on the mental illness part. It's very, very difficult to just get that one-on-one help in a rehab, although that's what they need. They need a private coach. They need someone with them 24/7 to evaluate them, to sit by them, and see exactly what is going on with them mentally, physically, emotionally. And you can't do that with an hour visit somewhere. You can't do it with an hour visit 3 days a week when you're in rehab. It just doesn't happen. It's almost like you need to be there all day, every day, for months. And that's how you come to these resolutions as to what someone's suffering from. And that's why they don't have these proper situations, proper ways of treating people yet, because that would be so costly. I mean, think about how much money it would cost to have someone with someone every day, one on one. That's the only way, because everyone's so different. We all have different makeups. Our bodies are made up differently, and until AI could figure out exactly our blood work and our makeup, then which would be unbelievable, then we have to resolve it this way as parents, as family members trying to help our loved ones. So basically, that was not one of my better Thanksgivings. And I did end up going to save my child 2 months later. And then, so to speak, the story started there officially. But he did have more psychotic events, and that has just been very traumatizing through the years. Unable to really kind of grasp it, help it, support it in any way, because when they're off drugs, you really get a better, clear understanding of where they are, and their mental clarity does come back. So it's very hard to track and understand. Is it bipolar? Do they need meds? Are they psychotic? Are they schizophrenic? How did this start? Was it the bipolar? Is it the depression? There are just so many factors in it. And so Thanksgiving, as my first Thanksgiving that I can remember experiencing and having to cope with a son who ruined our Thanksgiving, ruined the holiday, and kind of started my life in a different light, so to speak, with his illness, started then. Now, I don't need to look back at that particular Thanksgiving, and I really hope you didn't look back at your Thanksgiving this holiday. Now, the only thing that's going to happen if you did look back is make you feel sad. Don't need to look back. Now, if it was your first time experiencing this, then okay, well, figure out how you're going to make your holiday better moving forward. So now your next holiday is coming. Look at how your Thanksgiving worked out this year. Look at your table. Look at how the dynamics was of the family, extended family. Or maybe you guys just decided, as a couple, that you were just going to be alone because the kids were all with their extended families, other extended families, or away, or things just didn't work out this year. And that's fine too. Comparing to other holidays, comparing to what's you have or don't have, it's easy for all of us to say, oh, don't look at it that way. You know what? It's okay to look at it that way, but not necessary. Don't do it. Don't see how you're going to change, make it better for the next holiday. What's going to make you happy? What's going to make it so that you could come to the table for the next holiday and feel so good and so productive, and look at it as if you try to improve, make it the way you want it to look. And how is that going to happen? What is that going to look like? And write it out. Write out a list of things that you didn't like about this holiday, how Thanksgiving turned out this year, what you want to change for next year. Good. You could look at that and evaluate. That's why I did this episode after Thanksgiving, purposely, because why lead up to Thanksgiving thinking about and discussing all the things that we know are there? The elephant is always in the room, always in the room. It's how you're going to approach it. And it takes years to approach it the way that it doesn't make you feel bad, or it will. Maybe it's okay to say, I really wish they were here and they're not, and it's sad, but I really had a really nice time with everyone. Thank you for coming. Or maybe people saying, oh, have you heard from them? When you haven't heard from your kid, you don't know where they are for Thanksgiving. It's a holiday time and all the memories come up. But you can put those in its place. It doesn't have to be on your shoulder. Shrug it off. Take it off. Focus on something else. If it means taking your energy and cooking, then cook and bake and go overboard. Bake to your Lord's extent. Like, just keep going. Cook, cook, cook. Use new recipes. Think about, focus on everybody else in the family. Focus on making something special for each person. Let them know why you did that. Did you sit around the table and say thankful what you're thankful for, each of you? If not, then do it over Christmas. Do it over the next holiday. Think about the things that make you happy when you're with your family, be it your extended family or just your immediate kids. Maybe it's time for you to realize that it's just never going to be the same anymore when they were little. It's not. Doesn't matter if your kid has mental illness, doesn't matter if your kid's an addict or not. Nothing is ever really the same. It's different. But different's okay, as long as you address it and realize different is just different. And you can make it however you want it. And if the outcome isn't that, then change it. Make the outcome the way you want it to be. And change it for the next time. So, like, it all goes back to this. You can keep it on your shoulders and weigh yourself down. You could go to everybody else's families and sit there and feel sorry for yourself and feel like you're missing something. Or you could take it and change it. And that's what you should be doing. And if you didn't do it for this holiday, do it for next holiday. Because there's always tomorrow. And that's the beautiful thing about this. But I do want you to remember, we all have a story. The story is, it just so happens my story is so impactful on Thanksgiving. Now, after all these years, yeah, of course I wake up every Thanksgiving and I'm think about exactly what happened that day. I'm human, like everybody else. But I didn't cry all day. I didn't sit around boo-hooing for myself. I just didn't. I really didn't. I actually thought about how I would like to be with more family and address that and make it so next year more of us are together instead of less. And that is something that I wanted to change, but not about what I didn't have, and as far as my son not being there, or thinking about where he was eating his meal or where he is. I don't know, and that's useless to even start thinking about. And when you're used to it for so long, it just seems to not affect you as much as it did years ago. Now, that doesn't make me a bad mother. That doesn't make you a bad mother. It doesn't make you a bad mother if you woke up crying that day. It doesn't make you a bad sister or brother or aunt or uncle or grandmother if you cried or if you didn't cry, if you missed them or if you didn't miss them, if you think about them or you didn't think about them. It doesn't matter. And that's why there is no playbook for this. It's okay. Learn from how your experiences are. Learn from your outcomes. That's really the key. If I would have impacted more of what I learned from the outcomes of each time I went to save my son, I believe the playbook, my playbook, would have been a little different. Now, that doesn't mean that it even would have happened that way or worked out or not worked out, but there is something to be said about being strong, being confident, and focusing on the positive and focusing on the next holiday. That's going to be great because you're going to make it great. You're going to get excited. You're going to show that enthusiasm for the entire family. And if it means putting up your decorations today because it makes you feel good, then do it. Doesn't matter if it's early, late, whenever. Do what makes you feel good. There is nothing that says you have to do it this way and that way, and it's wrong if you don't do it that way. Stop thinking and being so critical of yourself. That doesn't help us. Being critical of how we were as parents or how we're going to be or why we're doing it this way and why we're not going to look for them and why that's wrong or why that's right, that is not productive for us. So stay strong, get psyched for the next holiday, because you know what? It could always be better. And you could always learn from the past holiday and how you want the outcome to be. And then if it doesn't show up that way the next holiday, you just take notes and do it for the next holiday. And you keep doing it until you improve. Because frankly, it's going to take some time to get comfortable. And most importantly, you need to be comfortable with yourself. You need to be comfortable with understanding that, yes, you have a problem. There is a problem in your family. There is a problem with one of your kids. There is an issue, a situation that you all deal with. Yes, that is all there and exists. And it is not going away. And if you think it's going away, that's another problem in itself. But for now, you need to address that and see how you're going to incorporate that into your holidays, into your family gatherings, and into your daily life to make it so that you don't have that burden on you. Have a happy holiday.
Thanks for tuning in. I trust this episode brought you insight and strength, offering valuable coping strategies. Stay connected with weekly content, plus follow if you enjoyed, and be sure to journal for your own self-care.